conversation with myself at almost 60 was more than I could bear. Each decade, I had asked myself all the big questions we all ask ourselves. Why am I here? What am I meant to be doing? How can I help the world? Each decade, I vowed to find those answers. Each decade, I failed. This time, my big questions felt far more urgent. Why have I never felt like my truest self? What keeps stopping me from living my best life? What would that life look like anyway? And how can living that life make the world a better place? After almost 50 years on the planet, I felt like I had done nothing that had really mattered. In that moment, I promised myself that I would change my life. When things fall apart. For the next 9 months of 2011, I clung to that promise like a lifeline. I said the same thing over and over again to myself and to anyone else who would listen. I refuse to look myself in the mirror 10 years from now and still feel like I have never shown up to my own life. I have to find a way to do something that makes a difference to someone other than me. I meant it. There was only one small problem. I had no idea how to change my life. I just hoped that if I kept learning to listen to myself and put one foot in front of the other, my new life would fall into place. If it had been that simple, I wouldn't have written this book. When I invited the still, small voice that had spoken truth back into my life, I asked it to take me where I needed to be led. It did. While I was doing that, it also tore my whole life as I knew it apart. I began 2012 by leaving my 6-year relationship. The guilt I initially felt about walking away from someone I truly loved almost derailed my whole journey. Ultimately, however, leaving my partner to start a new relationship with myself became my third rail, the juice that kept me on the track of my truth. The only way I could truly honor our breakup was to keep changing my life. Risking that first big change inevitably led to risking another, then another, and another. After my breakup, I moved from the charming home we had been renting out in the country into a quirky space in the Santa Fe barrio. Next, I downsized my retail store. 2 years later, I closed it altogether. This meant not only letting go of loyal, long-term employees, but also walking away from a business I had spent more than a decade building. I began co-creating a different entrepreneurial model with new investment partners. This required that I spend less and less time at home with my dog, my friends, and my colleagues in Santa Fe, and more time alone on the road, piecing together a patchwork quilt career of interior design intermingled with public speaking and appearances. Each change brought both freedom and fear. While I reveled in new opportunities to build a life filled with creative conversations and inspiring connections, I often found myself wanting to turn back and run for the safety of familiar places and people and behaviors, a romantic relationship, a steady job with a regular paycheck, a big life in a small town surrounded by people I knew. Yet every time I succumbed to the siren call of supposed comfort, that wise inner voice urged me on. Stay true to you, it said to me, even if you don't quite trust who you are yet. Although every one step forward usually felt accompanied by many more steps back, I remained committed to all this change. At some point, however,